What's going on, everybody? Welcome in to Blazers Uprise Live. We have a pretty packed episode today. The CBA just dropped. The league had to work on an amended CBA with the Players Union due to the special circumstance that is this entire pandemic and how it's affected the league. There's been an agreement on an amended CBA. It dropped about 20 minutes ago while we were preparing for this live stream. So this is maybe the number one live stream for people to tune into because you guys know, if you've watched us a while, me and Eric are nerds when it comes to the CBA. We've studied it and we know a lot about, roster construction, salaries, and that type of stuff. So we're going to break this down as best as possible. We're going to talk about how this could affect the Blazers' moves going into this offseason. We'll also touch on Jordan Kent being announced the full-time play-by-play commentator for the TV broadcast. And we'll also touch on a couple NBA rumors. Blazers have been lightly tied to Pokusevski. It's probably a bunch of nothing, but we'll talk about what it might look like the Blazers drafting Poku, because that would be an interesting guy for the Blazers to go and get. And that is what we have on tap for the stream. I'm looking forward to it. So let's just start with the CBA. We're going to go in deep and try and talk about how this amended CBA agreement affects what the Blazers could do this offseason. And the most important thing that I was looking to with this amended CBA was, what is the luxury tax going to be? That's about it. What's the luxury tax going to be? What's the tax apron going to be? Because that affects our moves more than what the salary cap number would be, right? We're going to be over the cap. We knew that. No matter what, the cap was going to be somewhere between 109 and 115 million. That number didn't matter to us. That number was irrelevant. So I didn't care about that number going into this. What number is more relevant is the luxury tax number, because I assume the team is going to try and stay under the luxury tax line. So that could constrict some of the moves we have available. Eric, go in on what the luxury tax line is and how that either frees up some space for us or constricts us in terms of the moves we could make this summer. Or this summer, this fall, this winter, whatever. This off-season.
Should I wait for the lag to stop?
Are we lagging?
We were for a second. All right. So basically what they decided to do was keep things the same as the 2019-20 season. So cap stays around 109 million. The luxury tax stays at 132 million. Now, it was supposed to go up to 115 million for the cap and 139 million or so for the luxury tax. And so that means we basically have about $7 million less dollars to re-sign guys, use the mid-level exception. Probably means we can't use the biannual exception. But I'll get into this more in depth. But
yeah, let me just stop you. Let me just stop you real quick. Yeah, like I don't want to compare it to what it was supposed to be, because we knew it was going to be less, and that just might get confusing with too much numbers thrown around there. So the luxury tax line is
132 million, and with that being less or the same as this year, if it was 139 million, we probably had enough to re-sign Whiteside, use that mid-level exception, and maybe sneak in using the trade exception as well. Now we basically have to choose two of those three, I think, unless we sign Whiteside for like really, really cheap. So if you're looking at re-signing Whiteside, it probably means we won't use the trade exception. We might use the mid-level exception or, part of it, some of it. But I don't see them using all three of those avenues this summer.
Okay, here's how I want to break this down. All right. We have our certain salary number, assuming Ariza gets brought back, because next year is non-guaranteed, but it makes no sense to let him walk. Assuming we bring him back, Rodney Hood opts into his contract, and Mario Hezonja opts in. Do you have like an exact number, Eric? As to what
I
our
don't have
salary
the
is at.
exact number, but it's a little over 112 million.
Okay, so assuming those guys come back, we have how many guys on our roster?
That would make 10, not including our draft pick.
Is it only 10?
Let me just verify. 1, 2, 3. Yep, 10.
Okay, so 10 players on our roster, $112 million.
Dame, CJ, Nurk, Ariza, Hood, Collins, Simons, Little, Hazonia if he opts in, and Trent.
Okay. And that you said it's a little over 12 million.
112, yep.
Okay. So, our first round pick, let me look.
Actually, I'll get you the exact number. Give me just a second.
Yeah. We're going to do some math here. This is math uprise tonight, guys. Because I'm trying to figure out what exactly they have space for while staying under the luxury tax line. Normally, we wouldn't have to worry about the luxury tax line with Paul Allen as owner, but they started to pay more attention to it. They traded away Vonleh to get under the luxury tax line a couple seasons ago, and that was with Paul Allen as he was still owner, I believe. And then, they have made some cost-saving moves in the past couple of years, so this is something that we now have to pay attention to going into this offseason.
So there's a little bit of wiggle room signing players, I guess, with Nurkic's contract because he has a bonus in his contract, so it just depends on the last season whether that's counted into your salary number for the next season, meaning so this 2019-20 season, he reached the metrics to get his bonus. So in the 2019-20 offseason, we were his contract counted more than it would have had he not met that. But the problem is, in our situation, I don't think that really matters because I think they'll just assume it's the higher number and he'll get his bonus, because if they don't assume that and go right up to the luxury tax line and then he gets his bonus, then they go over at the end of the season, and they would not want that. So I'm assuming they'll just put it at the higher number, and that makes the total salary for the Blazers, including the dead cap to Varejao and Nicholson, at 112, 191, 476.
Okay. Based off the 2019-2020 NBA rookie scale, it should be the same this year since the cap number is exactly the same, right? The 16th pick, first year salary, is $2.6 million. So you said we were about roughly $112.2 million. Using our first round pick at 16 would put us at $114.8 million. That would put 11 players on our roster. Are you taking the Hazonia into account with those 10 players?
Yes, I listed Hazonia, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So then we'd be at $114.8 million with 11 players on our roster. We have to have 14 players on our roster. So let's say we sign an undrafted free agent.
One quick note about that. I'm not sure what they're going to do yet with like two ways and stuff. They may do it like the bubble this year because not being in the bubble, you could have COVID outbreaks and they might have to have deeper rosters. So that could screw us a little bit too if you have to carry up to like 16 or 17 players.
I'm assuming that if you had to carry like the 16th and 17th players in that type of scenario wouldn't have their contracts counted towards the salary cap number, because it'd be unfair to teams to go into a situation where they're losing revenue, the luxury tax line, cap line isn't as high, and then force them to also carry more players that counts against that, right? So if they have to carry extra players, I assume those salaries just wouldn't count. They would be like, I don't know what they'd be classified. They'd basically be two-way players that could be on the team the whole year and wouldn't have their salaries counted, because two-way contracts don't have their salaries counted in general.
And for the record, that was basically how it was in the bubble, and we chose not to use it anyway, which is kind of still puzzling to me. But
basically, we're sitting at $114.8 million with 11 players if we use our 16th overall pick. Let's say we draft, we use our 46th overall pick as well and sign that player for like a rookie minimum or just slightly over around, year one. That would be what? Approximately $1 million for that player?
Well, we wouldn't be able to do that under those circumstances because I'm assuming you want your full mid-level exception, right?
Preferably. I'm just trying to do the math to showcase where we'd be at is if we just used our picks, used our mid-level exception, and used our trade player exception in a trade. That's all I'm trying to illustrate here. So,
yeah, but for salary purposes, I would do the minimum, because if we went into the mid-level exception, then you wouldn't have that, right?
Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah.
That was the only point I was trying to make.
Couldn't you use the biannual exception for that technically too? Like a portion of the biannual, since we'd be hard capped anyway using the full mid-level exception.
I don't think you can use the biennial exception in that way. I think it's.
I mean, we're getting too complicated here. Let's just say minimum contract for the 46 pick. I'm just trying to keep things simple to like illustrate to people that don't know, that aren't as nerdy as me and you. So, all right, going into this offseason, if we use our picks, we will be at about $115.8 million approximately. Might be an extra 100,000 above, might be an extra 100,000 below. Approximately $115.8 million, which means under the luxury tax line, we would have $16.2 million, because it's at $132 million flat, right, Eric?
It's actually 132,627.
Okay, so we would have
a little over that, yeah.
We would have $16.8 million. $16.8 million with 12 players on a roster. We'd only need to do two more. We'd only need to sign two more players, and we would have 16.8. So the mid-level exception, do you know the exact number for that? It should be the exact same as it was last year.
This year it was 9.258 million.
9.258. Our trade player exception is roughly $7 million.
Yes.
A little bit over 7. So let's just say 9.3 and 7 million. Right? That adds up to 16.3 million. 16.3, 16.4. We would have 16.8 if we used our picks. We'd have 16.8 under the luxury tax. Our trade player exception plus our full mid-level exception is 16.3. So we barely have enough room to fill out our roster using our 16th pick, our 46th pick, our full mid-level exception, and our $7 million traded player exception. We would be $500,000 or so under the luxury tax line, and we would have 14 players on our roster.
Yep. So there's a couple ways around, because that doesn't include Wenyen Gabriel, which I'd like to find a way to bring back.
Mm-hmm.
So your second round pick, maybe you could use as one of those two-way 16th, 17th roster spot if that's what's the plan is. So maybe you could have, like, say you were going to sign him as a two-way and then do that. Or you could use that pick on a stash guy where you can play this year.
I mean,
to save that roster spot, so you could sign Gabriel, and then you could probably squeeze out the two exceptions. But yeah, it's cutting it really close.
Let me illustrate it this way. If we don't use our trade player exception, we'll be able to use our biannual exception, we'll be able to use our full mid-level exception, and we'll be able to re-sign Gabriel and sign our picks and stay under the luxury tax.
Assuming we don't re-sign Whiteside for like crazy.
Yeah, the thing is though, if we... Yeah, I mean, yeah. So, yeah. I'm just kind of assuming we're not. Yeah. I was just... Okay, yeah. But here's the thing. Like, there's not a lot of players that are exactly at $7 million to fit into our trade player exception. I love the idea of Bielitsa, and he's at like 7.15, I believe. So, we could go out and use the trade player exception to get Bielitsa, use our full mid-level exception, take somebody at 16, and either take somebody at 46 and sign them to a normal contract, or take somebody at 46 and stash them if they're European, or take somebody at 46, sign them to a two-way contract that doesn't count, and use that money to re-sign Gabriel instead. Basically, we would be able to have on our roster Bielitsa, a full mid-level exception guy, the 16th pick, and either the 46th pick or Gabriel, and stay under the tax. Now, if we used our traded player exception for somebody like a Rashawn Holmes, right? Somebody that doesn't quite make $7 million, he only makes 5.5, then we could go out, use our full mid-level exception, use our TP on Rashawn Holmes, sign both our first and second round picks, and sign Gabriel and stay under the luxury tax.
Yep.
So we have flexibility.
Yeah. The wild card is if... I'm assuming they're going to try to re-sign Melo, so most of those situations don't include him. If you do the one where you don't use the trade exception and you have the biannual exception, I think that would be the most logical case for him. I'm kind of hoping that New York just comes with a big offer for him to go back home. And then it's not really our fault that he left, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, but here's the thing. We have 2 rotation spots to fill. That's 2 backup bigs, right? Because Collins could be our backup center behind Nurk, and we can go out and get 2 power forwards. Or we can keep Collins at the 4 and go out and get a backup 4 behind Collins and a backup 5 behind Nurkic, right? So we only have 2 spots to fill. If we resigned Melo for like the biannual exception, we would only need to use one of our full mid-level exception or one of our traded player exception. We wouldn't need to use both because we'd only have 1 rotation spot left to fill, if that makes sense, right? Yeah. So there's no reason for, like, we don't need our traded player exception, our full mid-level exception, and our biannual exception. We don't need all 3. We don't have room for all 3. We have room for 2, but we only need 2. So going into this offseason, like, we have the flexibility to have our full mid-level exception and our trade player exception and our picks. That's what I was looking for. I didn't want the tax line to go down where it was like, okay, well, we can't use our first-round pick. Maybe we should trade for a first-round pick next year, or try to do that so that we can use our trade player exception and our mid-level exception, right? Like, but we're not really, like, we're close to the tax line, but we're not crunched in terms of the things we want to try and do. Now, if things get really wild and you like trade CJ for a guy making $4 million more, then that changes the entire picture. You can't really use our trade player exception. Yeah, you know what I mean? So like, if things get crazy in that regard, then we wouldn't have as much flexibility, but that's probably not going to happen. I'm assuming it's not going to happen. So what's most likely this offseason is we use 2 of the following 3. We use 2 of our mid-level exception, traded player exception, and biannual exception, and we have room to do that. So the only thing that comes down to a crunch is like, okay, do we re-sign Gabriel and stash or use a 2-way on our 46th pick, or do we have room to be able to have both on the roster?
Honestly, I wouldn't really mind just trading that pick for a future second or something, just kind of replenish some of our future picks that we traded away too.
I'd be 100% down for that because I'm not high on the second round of this draft. I'm high on like, okay, here's what I've said to Eric. This is kind of a little bit off topic, but this year's draft is looked at as a weak draft, right? But here's how I'd break it down. 1 through 10, the draft is weak. 10 through 30, I think this draft is actually above average. 31 through 60, I think it's below average. So that comes out to being a below average draft, but actually like 10 through 30, I think it's above average. I like a lot of the prospects in that range. I don't think the 25th pick compared to like the 5th pick is as much of a difference in normal drafts, because the 25th pick, I think you can get good value for in this draft, and the 5th pick, you're not going to have the same selection of top level prospects as you do in a normal draft. So that's just a kind of side note on my opinion of the draft. I don't know if you guys agree. Do you agree on that, Eric?
Yeah, I think the problem is the top 10. I actually like the top 10 too. It's just there's not like the superstar potential that you have in most drafts. So that's what kind of makes it weak. And yeah, like the best case scenario for a lot of these guys is not even like, I don't know. It's hard to see like Hall of Famers out of this draft or anything like that, you know?
Yeah. But you got some serious role players. But like, I don't think the second round is that good, so I would be 100% fine with re-signing Gabriel, trading our 46th pick for a future second. I would be 100% down with that. Because it helps us salary-wise. It helps us with like this tax line. It helps us stay under the tax and keep Gabriel, and we retain a second that might be a better second and a better draft. So if that's possible, I would do that.
Westbrook trolling in the comments.
Yeah, Westbrook, come on. You're a mod. I have to hold you to a higher standard, man.
And CBA, CC, we did hear what Channing Frye said. He's completely crazy, and I'm not going to listen to him very much anymore because that was dumb.
If you could trade CJ straight up for Jaylen Brown, you'd do it.
Yeah, but he
like,
said we
need CJ's Marcus Smart too.
Jaylen Brown and Marcus Smart. That's crazy. CJ is not worth that much in a trade, especially to a team like Boston who doesn't need CJ as much as they need longer wings and defense and stuff like that.
And this is coming from the guys who shoot down almost every CJ trade, right? Like, we're not like a Danny Meringue who's out there like, oh, let's trade CJ even if there's not a good deal, just because we have to trade CJ, right? We're not like that. We're not saying we should trade CJ for Aaron Gordon or stupid crap like that, right? The only person I trade CJ for is an equal or better talent who's just as good playing off the ball, who's better defensively. Like, basically, equal or better talent, equal or better fit. Jaylen Brown is an equal or better talent. He's an equal or better fit. So, yeah, you do that in a heartbeat. And he's younger, too. That's the other thing, is he's young. So you would 100%... Boston wouldn't trade Jaylen Brown for CJ straight up. So I don't want people out there listening to this thinking, oh, well, we should do that. Let's do that. Like, O'Shea should go do that. It's not really something that's possible for O'Shea to go do because Boston wouldn't do that. They value Jaylen Brown over CJ McCollum for the same reason why I would value Jaylen Brown over CJ McCollum, right? He's a better defender. He's younger.
Why would they want to pair, like, Kemba Walker with CJ in the backcourt?
Exactly.
They have a good defensive unit right now. They don't want to mess that up to get more scoring. Their scoring's fine.
Mm-hmm. But, like, that's the type of player I'd trade CJ for. Yeah. And I'd be willing to give up, like, a first-round pick, maybe even 2 in order to make that happen, but that's not possible. Like, they're not going to... Boston's not going to trade Jaylen Brown. So,
I do feel like, real quick, Micah has a good point here. He says that some breakout gems late, maybe due to guys not being seen as much. And, you know, the workouts are kind of limited. The combine was kind of just like alone in a gym. It didn't have the pressure of a normal combine. So, like, yeah, there could be a lot of guys who kind of fell under the radar, maybe got lost on their team and would have shown or broken out over the summer in workouts that didn't really get a chance to do that. So, yeah, there definitely could be some sleepers or more than normal in this draft, but unfortunately, I don't feel like this is a hugely deep draft for that either, but a lot of guys could fall.
Yeah, I mean, like, I've been doing a lot of research on second-round prospects, and there's a couple guys that I think are first-round talents that are being projected to go, like, in the middle of the second round, but there's not many people that jump out, like, in other drafts. Granted, I don't do this much research as other drafts, but I was kind of expecting more guys to jump out at me, and it's just a lot of eh. And, like, the guys that do jump out at me are, like, a Sam Merrill, who's 24 and a half years old or something like that, and I'm just looking at him like, dang, you could get him in the middle of the second. He should end up being an NBA role player, but he doesn't have upside beyond that, and he's like 2 years away from his prime. You know what I mean? It's those types of guys. So nothing's really jumping out.
Well, like the other day, you asked me if I had any like late second round sleepers that I would have like a first round grade on or something like way higher than anyone else, and I literally could not think of a single person.
Granted, I feel like you haven't really dove into the second round yet. Because you've done a ton of research on, like, the first, like, guys in the first round.
Yeah, but that's more for our videos. I mean, I have done research on the guys in the past, but, like, there's no one I was like, oh, that guy's rated that low. Like,
yeah. So, I mean, we'll see how the second round looks like, but yeah, I'd be willing to try that pick. But anyway, basically, this comes out where like, Portland could go and use their mid-level exception on Serge Ibaka. I don't think we'll be able to get Serge Ibaka for the mid-level exception. I think he resigns with Toronto for more than that. But like that's a possibility, right? And we could go and make that Bielitsa trade. I still think that Bielitsa trade makes too much sense. And that's the other thing, right? If we use our traded player exception, we very well could be trading that 46th pick to get the player we're getting back with the traded player exception, right? Like if Bielitsa's value isn't as high as I'm thinking, like maybe we could trade 46th and a future second for Bielitsa, right? And then instead of having the 46th pick, we would re-sign Gabriel and have our 14-man rotation. That would be like right under the luxury tax line.
Man, Bielitsa and Ibaka, and then keep everyone else and our 16th pick.
Yeah.
That would be a home run, especially if we got like Sadiq Bey or Nesmith or
100%.
someone like...
I think it would take like 16 for Bielitsa and 35, which I'd have to consider. I'd probably do that. The thing is, if we went, just hypothetical, if we went and did 16 for Bielitsa and 35, we would have enough money to sign both whoever we took at 35, whoever we took at 46, and Gabriel, I believe. Because instead of the 16th pick being $2.6 million, we would have the 35th pick instead, which would be around like $1 million or so.
Yeah, assuming no one gives us gives Gabriel a big offer or something. Or
Yeah, I mean, if that happens, then congrats to Gabriel, man, because that team's going to play him, and he's going to get a real chance to develop, and he's getting paid. So, if that happens, I wouldn't hate it, man. It'd suck to see him go, but, like, I'd be happy for him at the same time, right? But that's what I'm saying is, like, using the traded player exception, we could clear up, like, a little bit more space below the luxury tax line by, like, trading one of the picks for whoever we get with the traded player exception, right? So, going into this offseason, I'm happy they kept it. I'm happy it didn't go below, because that was like the worst case scenario was if the luxury tax line, it was projected to go up from 132 million to 139 million this year, but because of the pandemic, it was rumored that it could potentially drop from 132 million to like 129 million. I was worried that because that would constrict what we could do. We probably would only be able to use one of the traded player exception or mid-level exception. So I like that we still have both those avenues available without having to like give up our picks for it. So I like it's not the best case scenario. Best case scenario would be it goes up to 139 million and we can use our biannual exception too and sign Gabriel and stay under the luxury tax. But this is decent news that it didn't go down, and we should be able to make some stuff happen this offseason without going into the luxury tax.
There's some teams that are for sure going to be in the luxury tax this season, and this saves them a lot of money because even though the luxury tax number is lower, they lessen the penalties or like how much money you have to pay for the luxury tax.
Yeah.
So a team like Golden State or Philadelphia, Boston's looking at a pretty high tax number. So those kind of teams are going to benefit from not having to pay as much tax as they probably would have. But they're still going to be in the tax, and definitely for sure now. There was a chance they could maybe skirt around that a little bit, but it definitely helps those teams not have to pay as much, but they're going to be starting out pretty much in the tax this summer making any moves, so they're going to be limited on their moves they can make as well. So I don't know if this really hurts or helps any team a great amount, other than maybe the Warriors, if they wanted to use their big traded player exception. Now it doesn't cost as much because they were talking about like $100 or $200 million just in taxes if it stayed the same and the penalties were the same. But now it could save them a lot of money if they use that. I don't know if they will still, because it's still a lot of contract salary to bring on. But I don't know if it's really benefits. I think it was a good, fair agreement and negotiation for all teams.
Yeah, I'm glad they sorted something out. I'm glad the season is starting December 22nd. We are now 6 weeks away, maybe a little bit less. That's awesome. So I'm happy with what's happened so far with all this. So we will break things down as we get closer to the offseason. I just wanted to give you guys a good summary of the CBA. Is there anything else to note from this, Eric? Or
no, not really. I did see that LeBron changed his stance and was now happy it's starting on the 22nd. And Reese, no, Bielitsa is not a more versatile defender than Zach Collins. I don't even know.
Yeah, Bielitsa, you're not going out and getting him for the defense.
Codename Ace, yes, we are doing a draft live stream. It'll be on November 18th for the draft.
Looking forward to that. I have really ambitious graphic plans for that. I am looking forward to what I'm going to do graphically for that. I think you guys will really enjoy it. I think it'll be really solid.
9 days from now, we'll be wrapping up the draft and talking about who did well and stuff. And then 11 days from now, we'll be on stream talking about the signings that are happening right in front of us.
Oh, here's the other thing to note. Free agency starts Friday, 2 days after the draft. That's the other thing to note from the CBA. It starts the 20th.
6 p.m. Eastern.
So we will have a live stream for that too. So we're going to have our two biggest streams of the year in 3 days. Because those were our biggest streams of the year last year. Those are our biggest streams of the year. We will probably stream... We'll stream at least one of... Okay, so here's how that week. There's draft on Wednesday. Free agency starts Friday. We will stream at least once on Monday or Tuesday, maybe even both Monday night and Tuesday night leading up to the draft, right? You're going to have a ton of rumors, potentially trades happening, gearing up for that week. We're going to have our draft stream during the draft, all 60 picks. We'll go live maybe, hopefully like an hour before the draft on that Wednesday, the 18th. Thursday, we will have another one of these normal streams. Normally we stream Thursday night anyway. We will have one of those streams. We'll recap the draft. It'll probably be a pretty long stream. We'll recap the draft and we'll preview free agency. And then Friday, starting maybe 30 minutes before free agency starts at 2:30 Pacific time, 5:30 Eastern, the plan would be to go live and have our free agency live stream. We did draft live stream and free agency live stream during last offseason. That was like a year and a half ago at this point. Those were like our first 2 streams. Yeah. So it was like, now we've streamed over 100 times, maybe 200, over 200 times at this point. Like, we have done so many streams now. We're comfortable. We're better on camera. I'm able to do more graphically. I have a better setup. So like, now it's like round 2 for these, and it's just going to be a lot better than what it was.
What was weird about last year's free agency stream is, like, right when we started, we already had like a bunch of people signed. It wasn't even time to sign.
Yeah.
So, like, it was crazy how fast information was coming out.
This year, you're probably not going to have a lot of people signing, like, coming to agreement before, I feel like. I mean, maybe, but with the draft not happening until 2 days before, normally you'd have 9 days before where, like, you know, they're not supposed to, but you'd have conversations going on behind the scenes with, like, player agents and GMs.
The thing is, though, I agree with that there's probably not going to be pre-deals, especially with the new penalties and potential loss to draft pick or voiding transactions. Mm-hmm. But there definitely will be a flurry of moves the day or two after free agency opens, because there's not much time before the season starts. Players need to know where they're playing. Teams need to set their roster like really fast, because training camps start like 10 days later.
That's insane, like that. Man. That's insane.
So normally we have free agency. It's kind of awesome for about 5 days, and then it just completely dies down, and there's nothing for like 2 months until training camp start. This year there's like 10 days. Training camp start, and then the season starts like a few weeks later. It's going to be so
I know,
cool.
Bro. Like, there's less time in between, like, the start of free agency and the start of, like, potentially preseason this year than there normally is between the start of free agency and the start of summer league. Mm-hmm. So, bro, like, the first preseason game, I assume, would be around, like, December 8th or 9th, because they're talking about playing, like, 4 preseason games or whatnot. That's kind of what's rumored. We don't know yet. That's in a month. So it's crazy.
Just a side note. So Woj tweeted that NBA's transaction window trades, contract opt-ins and outs, etc., progressing towards firming a date 2 to 3 days prior to the draft. So trades in about a week from today.
Okay. We got a little bit more to touch on this podcast. I've called it a podcast on the stream. old habits.
Mike has a good question for you.
Yeah, what is it?
I was actually talking to someone on a Blazer forum about this earlier today. If LaMelo Ball was on the board at 16, would you take him?
Yeah. Yeah. I have him 9th on my big board.
I'd probably take him just as like a trade asset. But yeah. I have players higher than him that would probably still be on the board too. So
I mean, hypothetically, bro, like, if he could get a lot stronger, maybe, I don't know. Here's the thing. You'd want him to get stronger, get better defensively, and get his 3-point shot dialed in, right? That's kind of the key to him. If he got better defensively, got stronger, became a better shooter, he might be a great fit at the 3 next to Dame and CJ. Like, you could run those guys off the ball. I mean, LaMelo Ball's like 6'7", potentially 6'8", and if he had the strength, like, he could maybe like hang with guys at the 3. You know, he's a far shout away from that, and if not, maybe he could be like a good third guard, right? If he's able to develop properly, because he has size and playmaking ability.
Here's what I told the person earlier. I feel like if LaMelo's going to be uh, a breakout player and like a star versus a bust,
Hmm.
I think it's going to be he's going to have to be an alpha and like be a guy who leads a team, right? Um, and I feel like it's either going to be that or he's going to be a complete bust. I don't see him being like even Alonzo type where he's just like a role player or whatever.
Yeah.
Like I don't see much in between. I feel like he's either going to be a star or he's not going to be in the league after a few years. So like I feel like he needs to go to a team. I kind of equate it to like Mo Bamba like a few years ago, where if he goes to a team that has a good center, or in this case, a couple good guards in front of him, he's not going to get a chance to develop his leadership and playmaking skills right away. As
He could
opposed
get
to
more
going
minutes than
to
Bamba though, because he could like play with them, where Bamba can't
right.
play with Vucevic.
But like if he goes to like Detroit, say, he would get
Yeah.
like thrown in the mix and be the man right away and have a chance to become that alpha right away. But yeah, I don't
He
know.
ain't falling to 16 though. Like is a
No, yeah, I know.
you know what I mean? Even if he fell to 15, bro, Orlando would jump on that. Like he would be, you know what I mean? That's kind of like, and he would probably start right away, you know. And maybe you bring like Fultz off the bench, or you start both together, which could be like a wreck. But like there would be, he ain't falling that far. Like he could still go number one. So there's a couple things I want to touch on, but like I want to like, you want a solo stream for like 5 minutes, Eric?
Sure.
You down to solo stream? I got a scene set up. I'm thirsty as hell. I want something to drink. I'm not
Okay.
even gonna lie. So
I
I'm gonna toss it over. Like I got a scene set up where it's just your camera. You know, it's about time I set that up. So I'll be back in like 5 minutes, and I'll touch on. Don't talk about Jordan Kent yet, because I want to talk about that. I am not a fan of that. I'll get to that in when I'm back. So have fun solo streaming for a sec.
RIP Blazers said he'd take Kyra Lewis, Tyrese Halliburton over LaMelo. I'm assuming that if ball fell that far, it would be because um, it would be more like those guys went ahead of him. So, um, what's up, Luis? What's up, Shervins? My day was pretty good. Just worked and came home. Westbrook, man, you're just trolling tonight. I don't know about you guys, but saw another Nasir workout video today, and I'm getting excited, man. I'm trying not to take too much from workout videos, but like he was handling the ball, like pulling up with guys in his face. 3-point shot looked great. Getting a little excited. I think Nas is going to be a really good player. But yeah, he looks nice. Uh, what would Wenyon's role look like next season? I'm assuming it would just be like an emergency big type. So he'd be probably the backup four until Collins got back, depending on who we sign there. Maybe even the backup five if we didn't sign a good center. But yeah, he's probably, if we make the right moves and we're deep, he's probably like our third center. So I don't think he's going to get a lot of time. But Nurk has some injury issues. You may want to give him some load management throughout the season. And also, like I said, Collins might not be back for the first month or so of the season, depending on how his rehab goes. So I could definitely see him getting some playing time earlier. Same with Nas. Nas is the type of guy who needs to take advantage of his playing time right off the bat, like Gary Trent did last year when Hood went down. Because Hood, I'm guessing, is going to be brought along slowly because the Blazers usually are overcautious with returning players from injury. So I don't expect Hood to be ready for the beginning of the season either. And that leaves Nas with a chance to show something. And I mean, if he starts knocking down threes and plays good defense like he's capable of, it might be hard to get him out of the rotation. And that would be a great benefit for the Blazers, either having multiple wings. One, we could trade one of them like an Ariza or something and not have to worry about filling depth. But also just to have, the more good players we have, obviously, the better we are. Could I see Trent and Nasir being an elite 3 and D duo? Sure. Um, yeah, I don't know. See, the problem is you didn't include CJ in that, Shervin, so it's kind of hard because if you get rid of CJ and they're like our starters, then we have no bench again. So we have the same problem we've had for several years. So we got to be careful with just like, should we get rid of CJ and start Trent because then we don't have a backup guard? Whereas right now we have Trent to be the backup guard, so we're a lot deeper than we would be. Let's see. Um, Alvaro, stay tuned for our draft profile, Precious. He's really tough for me to grade. He's one of the tougher guys I have to grade. He gets super lazy at times on the court, and I don't like that at all. Like his closeouts are really weak sometimes, but like I feel like he has the athleticism to be like super dominant, and I just don't like the way his production equates to it. But at the same time, like he has the skills to be like an elite player, one of the best players in this draft. I just don't know if he has the mental makeup to make it all work. But that's definitely a guy who, I mean, I wouldn't hate if the Blazers took him, but he definitely needs to go to a situation where he can be groomed properly and they teach him proper techniques and stuff. And break down a lot of film. I don't know if you necessarily get that in Portland, but he definitely needs a strong culture and a strong team to help mold him into a better player. But he does have a lot of interesting skills as a big man. RIP says he's the same age as Nas. Yeah. I mean, you're probably older than a lot of people in here then. Is my mom still watching? Later, CBACC. In this draft, I don't think I would move up to draft anyone. I mean, if all it took was our second round pick to move up, then yeah, I would do it. But there's not a prospect that I would move up to draft that there isn't a similarly graded guy that would still be on the board at 16, no matter how the draft shakes up. So I wouldn't trade up to draft anyone in this draft. I don't think. I mean, obviously, if someone offered us like a top 5 pick for Simons in 16 or something, you'd have to consider it. But I'm not really giving up too much to move up. I don't think it's worth it in this draft. And there's a couple of guys who I really hope fall. Most of you know this by now, but I love Sadiq Bey and Aaron Nesmith. And it's those two guys are bust for me right now in the draft. We'll talk about Poku later. I wouldn't mind Poku either, but those are my two favorite players in this draft. What did RIP Blazers say? Trevin, are you worried about that? Shervins, were you not paying attention earlier, man? We're going to be live streaming during the draft. We'll have all the picks as they happen. We'll break down every pick. We'll be streaming the entire time. So that's what it is. Every pick. Yep, the whole draft, both rounds. We got you covered. And then free agency, every signing we'll talk about. And yeah. As you know, Tori and I know like most of the NBA team situations and stuff. So it's kind of fun to break down how picks and trades and stuff affect other teams. So, but yeah, we're going to have the ticker along the bottom of the screen. We'll have the picks as they happen with the team they go to on the side. And then, yeah, we'll talk about it as we happen. It'll be on like a few second delay. So we have to have the disclaimer that we can't have people spoiling picks in chat. But if you just watch us and not the live coverage, then that won't happen. But as long as you guys aren't typing in who picks like a minute before, pulling a Woj from a couple years ago, then we won't have any issues. but it's a lot of fun just chill and hang out and watch the draft. We can talk about the prospects if you don't know much about them. We'll help you break them down and all that kind of stuff. That was my first stream ever at the draft last year. I was so nervous. I didn't talk a lot, and I up until the end of the draft, I did not leave the stream at all. So it's 4 straight hours of just sitting there talking. That's kind of hard to do sometimes because even the people on TV get commercial breaks and stuff. But yeah, Westbrook's going to get the green names back. But yeah, definitely tune into that if you guys are fans of this show and Tori and I, because it's a lot of fun and we love hanging out with you guys. It's more of a community feel versus just watching something on TV. So definitely a lot of fun. Do I see any prospects falling like Nas or Bol? That's always a tough one because you don't really have Bol was more of a medical issue. Same with Michael Porter Jr., although we know about his injuries more than Bol's. But I'm starting to think Vassell could slip a little bit, just because people are worried about his shot a little bit. Other than that, I don't know. There's just so many players that could be drafted anywhere from 15 to 30. So it's hard to know if any of those guys will fall or not. But I don't see many players falling a ton. You could have an Okongwu or a Toppin fall to 8 to 10 range, which would be kind of surprising, but not where you're probably a top 12 pick falling all the way to 25 like Nas did last year.
What's up?
What's up, man? Did you get your drink?
Yeah, I just ran to the gas station. That's it was 5 minutes from closing. I ran to it. It's only a couple blocks away. So, a couple things I want to touch on. What were you gonna say?
I was gonna answer Nicholas' question that I was about to answer.
Okay, yeah, answer it. Then I got a couple.
So the I don't see us trading our pick. Neil Olshey has said in the past that the draft is an avenue for the Blazers to get a good player, and I don't see him trading it unless it's a trade where it's a definite improvement. But other than that, he likes to build through the draft, so I don't see it.
All right, so as far as the draft stream goes, because I was listening to it. Yeah, that was your first stream last year. I heard you talking about that. What was funny is me and you weren't used to talking for 4 straight hours, so my voice was so sore.
Yeah.
Now I feel like I'm a lot better at just talking for 4 hours. You know what I mean? So yeah. The way that stream will work, Eric kind of touched on it. We will have the ESPN draft graphic. Along the bottom, we will have a panel of who is taken on the side, which will be my own graphics, and we will have me and Eric's cameras on that. That'll look really cool, I think. And what else? We will fade in the audio from the TV broadcast only when Adam Silver announces the pick. So the goal is to have you guys be able to hear Adam Silver announce the pick and have the ticker along the bottom. We shouldn't deal with copyright issues because of that, because it's only a bottom graphic ticker. I might even be able to put an overlay over part of the ticker, the right side where it says draft 2020. I'll probably put an overlay that makes it look natural, but Blazers Uprise logo, whatnot. So shouldn't deal with any copyright issues from that. No spoiling picks. This is what I wanted to get to. I am looking for maybe a couple more mods for the draft stream because I want it. It's not an enviable task, so I'm willing to give you guys, I don't know, I'm willing to give you guys free merch or $20 or whatever for helping us moderate that stream. But basically, I want moderators there to be able to delete any spoilers. Because Trevin, you're already a mod. The people we have Trevin as a mod, we have Westbrook as a mod. You guys don't have to be there and do that if you just want to watch and enjoy it. But if anybody wants to help us out in terms of deleting pick spoilers, that'd be great. We didn't have any mods, and we had people spoiling it, and it kind of ruins it for the people in the stream. So, yeah, I could use a couple mods, and I will give you guys free merch or give you guys $20. I'm looking for like 4 or 5. It's up to you guys what you guys want. So, and that'll help people in the chat, because I want it to be where like people will watch along with the stream and like see who gets picked live with us without like it being spoiled, because I want to react to it as it happens. Bro, what are you talking about with that Pepsi can, man?
Someone asked if I was drinking a brewski. I'm like, no, it's Pepsi.
It's Coke, bro. Coke's better than Pepsi. Sounds better when you open it.
I like both. Can you see my email? The email I posted.
Email?
Chat. Let me know if you can see that. I posted the email.
We're lagging.
I don't know if anyone can see it though, because it's the link.
Oh no.
But it's just blazersuprise@gmail.com.
What were you posting?
I saw.
Oh, I see.
I tried to post it in the chat. I don't know if people can see it or not. Oh, okay.
I can post it too. Why are we having people email?
Well, a couple people like Luke Olson said I'll mod for free, so I just was gonna have them email if they were interested. Yeah. Unless you want to do something different.
Yeah.
Or
Discord. Blazers. Discord would probably be easier. If you have a Discord, make sure you're in our Discord and message me on Discord. If not, if you don't have Discord, definitely consider getting it. It's the easiest way to get in contact with people. But if not, then yeah, email me at blazersuprise@gmail.com.
Blazer Surprise.
We will be doing the live stream over on our main Blazers Uprise channel. Our NBA Uprise channel doesn't have like enough viewership. I'm gonna just try and get whoever is randomly subscribed over there to watch it on the Blazers Uprise stream. Next year the goal is to like branch out and do different type of stuff.
Be big enough, yeah.
Yeah, so like I got some like plans. Basically, I started the NBA Uprise channel. It's just like a start of something kind of bigger, and we'll get into that. So, like, that's where I've been doing the draft profiles. That's just where it makes sense. I made it so that you can see the draft profiles on the Blazers Uprise channel page. You can see the draft profiles that I publish on the other channel. You can see them from the Blazers Uprise page, because I got a playlist with all of them. Because some I post on Blazers Uprise, some I post on NBA Uprise. So, if you want, like, you can just find them that way.
And yes. You will see me have an absolute meltdown if we draft someone like Vassell at 16 if some other guys are on the board.
The goal will be to be connected to, like, hardwired to the internet router so we don't have lag during that draft stream.
Yeah.
I'm going to try and get, like, a 30 million foot Ethernet cable, however the hell you say it. Also, we will be able to, like, take breaks. I'll set it up where, like, I can have a scene with just my camera or a scene with just your camera, Eric, so that, like, if you want to bow out for a good 5 minutes because your voice is falling apart, then you can.
Go to the bathroom, yeah.
Yeah. But what's funny is, like, that first stream we did, Damati was, like, seemed the most comfortable on stream. You know what I mean? It was funny.
He was the most in and out, too.
Yeah. I am going to try and bring on a couple different guests at some point during that stream, just for like their thoughts on what the Blazers have done. So that'll be something new. I have to sort that out. Basically, that stream will be probably cooler than any other stream I've ever done, and that'll just be a precursor to like the kind of stuff we want to try and do next season. Because next season we're going to try and implement a bunch of new, cool stuff for you guys to keep things fresh, to improve things. We're just kind of waiting for that new season and planning it right now. This first season was just a feel it out period. Next season's going to be like, we're going to try and continuously upgrade. The plan is to, I mean, like I've been trying to move out, but you know, stuff has happened, but the plan is to try and move out of this place by the start of the season, and on opening night, introduce you guys to like a brand new studio, to wherever I move into. I want to have like a studio set up, and I want to introduce that to you guys on opening night. So there's so much cool stuff. Haven't even touched on the website, which if you're a writer for me, I will reach out to you in the next day or so. The plan is to try and launch that next weekend before the draft. So we have the website too. I know that's been pushed off, but we have a lot of cool stuff planned. So I'm looking forward to it. I mean, I feel like there's stuff I forget. I'm also looking at like new merch because I want to drop new merch when we launch that website, maybe a little bit after. Merch-wise, you guys could tell me if I should add anything to this, but I have 5 different things. One is a lanyard, a Blazers Uprise lanyard. One is a snapback, a flat bill hat. One is a zip-up hoodie, because I know some people wanted a zip-up hoodie and it's getting to winter. One is a beanie, because it's wintertime. And then I just want this for myself. I don't know if anybody will even want this, but a mouse pad. I thought it'd be cool to have a mouse pad that's like the, the Blazers Uprise logo, the red kind of pattern behind the white Blazers Uprise logo. I think that'd look cool on like a mouse pad and on a lanyard. So I'm going to try and get creative with some like cool merch ideas. The website is dope. That's not the website we're rolling with, Alvaro. That's just a bare bones website that's like where it's going to look far cooler than what it is right now. But like, yeah, you guys will see. It'll look cool. I think it will look better than Blazers Edge. That's the hope. And hopefully the writing will be better than Blazers Edge. So I got a few writers, and yeah, I mean, like as far as the people that write for me, I will be willing to like bring you on some streams here and there. And we'll just kind of feel that out. So I'm going to get super creative. If you guys have any ideas for us, let us know. But I'm trying to get creative with what we're doing this next season. Should be fun. Last thing we gotta touch on. We'll touch on Poku in a future episode. That was just something to put in the title because I didn't know the CBA was. I made the thumbnail before the CBA was announced. But final thing I want to touch on is Jordan Kent is now officially the play-by-play guy for the Blazers. All right, and Eric, do you want to give your thoughts on that first, and then I can kind of
go ahead.
Okay. So nothing against Jordan Kent, right? From all accounts, I mean, I don't know him personally, but from all accounts, he's a great guy, and he's, a guy that everybody likes, right? A lot of people like him because he went to the University of Oregon. I get all that, but and this isn't even like an insult to him. It would be easy for me to sit here and say, "Oh yeah, Jordan Kent, man, great guy. I like his commentating. That's a great move. Super happy for him," and just be positive and that's what a lot of people would like to hear. But that would be kind of I'm not gonna pretend to feel a certain way about it that I don't. Right? I'm always honest. And this is just coming from a place of honesty. And this isn't even an insult towards Jordan Kent, but he is not ready to be the play-by-play commentator for an NBA team. That's not an insult to him because he has no experience doing that, right?
He's got 8 games. So.
He has 8 games, you know what I mean?
So,
and I understand how
14.
And I understand how it's tough. Your first play-by-play commentating is in a studio. You're not even watching the game. You're watching it on a screen in the bubble. I understand how that'd be hard. So maybe he'll be better. But he has the least experience out of any commentator for any team in the NBA, right? You have the Sacramento Kings going out and signing Mark Jones, who's the national broadcast phenomenal play-by-play commentator. Phenomenal. And we're bringing a guy who has literally no experience. In my opinion, he is not a good play-by-play commentator. And that's not an insult to him. I don't want him to take that as a knock. And he could end up being good one day. It's just if you take somebody who has never coached basketball before and make them the head coach of an NBA team, they're going to be the worst coach in the league. They're going to really, really struggle, right? I feel that's kind of what we're doing here with Jordan Kent. He has no experience doing play-by-play commentary, and now he's a play-by-play commentator for an NBA team. That doesn't make sense to me. But the big problem I have with it has to do with what we did with the Mike and Mikes, right? We fired Mike Barrett and Mike Rice because we wanted to appeal to a wider audience. We wanted to have more appeal nationally on like League Pass or whatever. We wanted to have more appeal to the Seattle market. So we went out and got a national guy and a guy from Seattle and Kevin Calabro, right? And we fired Mike Barrett and Mike Rice in the process to try and have a wider appeal and a more professional broadcast, right? But then when Kevin Calabro leaves, we go out and get a guy who nobody other than like Blazer fans and Duck fans know, right? Nobody knows Jordan Kent. He has no experience. He doesn't have appeal to Seattle. He's an Oregon guy. He doesn't have national appeal, right? Like all the reasons we fired Mike Barrett for, we're now going against those reasons we fired him for by making Jordan Kent the full-time play-by-play guy. Does that make sense? And that kind of bugs me. I understand why they fired Mike Barrett to go out and sign and bring in Kevin Calabro, but now they're like going backwards on that, even more so because they're bringing in a guy who has literally no experience. I don't like the move. I didn't enjoy listening to him. If you enjoy listening to him, great. You know what I mean? Like, that's great. You can think he's a good play-by-play commentator. If you enjoy him, I'm kind of jealous of you. Okay? I'm like kind of jealous, you know? And that's great because he's going to be calling every Blazer game next year. So if you enjoy him, you can like him. You know what I mean? Like, if I enjoyed him, I'd probably like him more as a play-by-play commentator. It's kind of different tastes for different people. I just don't like listening to him be the play-by-play commentator. I didn't like it last year. It was tough. So I don't like this move. And I mean, like, I'll give him a chance and whatnot, and I'm not going to be like sitting there on post-game shows criticizing him or anything. Like, he's just the commentator, and it's not really his fault that he doesn't have experience and now he's in this role. So I'm not going to be sitting there like criticizing him or kind of being hard on him. I just don't really like the move.
Yeah, because, you know, I was pretty disappointed that whatever happened with Wheels happened. And but Demers did a pretty good job as the radio guy. Here's my thing with Kent. Because he's on a lot of football shows, too, like Talking Ducks. And he was on a post-game show for the Ducks. I don't know if it's still on or whatever after Ducks games. But I felt like he's so much more knowledgeable about football, and he broke those down a lot better. Whereas basketball, he's just like basically like an anchor reading a teleprompter or like talking about stuff where he's not as knowledgeable about the intricacies of the game as he is football. So like if he was a football play-by-play guy, I think he would be a lot better and a lot more comfortable. Whereas basketball is a little out of his comfort zone, I think. So I don't know. I have a tough time having him be, I guess the play-by-play guy doesn't have to be super knowledgeable, but to me, like just listening to him on the post-game shows and the halftime shows and stuff, he didn't know a lot about other NBA teams like rosters and like you have to be really knowledgeable about that kind of stuff, which I'm sure he'll practice and get better like that. I'm not saying he can't do that or he's going to be horrible or anything. I just feel like he was okay in the studio, but I don't know how he's going to be long term. I was fine with them experimenting with it.
I understood that for like, oh, you need somebody last second to fill in for potentially 8 bubble games, probably somebody local. Like, I understand why they did it for the bubble. Like, I 100% understand the reasoning for that.
And I thought Brooke did a really good job in the studio programs in replacement of Kent during those games. So I'd like to see her get that position moving forward and have, you know, a female voice in there because I feel like she did a really good job in that. And she could also like, you know, leave during the game and go be the sideline reporter still if she still wants to do that as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just and it is kind of cool, you know, having. I think this is the first duo in the NBA that are both minorities, right? Or at least, you know, two black people, which is really cool to see that progressiveness and have that diversity. And so I'm really glad to see that. So you combine those two with having a woman in the studio, like I think that would be really a nice thing to see. I just, yeah, I'm still bitter about the Mike and Mike firing. And at this point, I don't want to bring him back. It's like that door's been closed, but that'll always sit
It just makes it
poorly
worse.
with me.
Yeah, it just makes it worse that the reasons they had for firing the Mike and Mikes, they're like throwing out the window by going with Jordan Kent as the full-time play-by-play guy. Like
I guess maybe they just feel like enough time has passed or something.
Yeah, you know who I would have really enjoyed, and it would have made it still the first minority play-by-play and color commentator duo in the league. I would have loved Gus Johnson. I know he's like has like a fill-in role with the Milwaukee Bucks, but I would have loved Gus Johnson if possible. That's a guy who has national appeal, and his Gus Johnson's energy with Lamar Hurd's energy would have been phenomenal. You know what I mean? Like I feel like they would have played off each other. Whereas like Lamar or Jordan Kent is he doesn't, and this is probably just a lack of experience. He just doesn't have energy on the mic. That's the one thing I notice about him. He just doesn't bring energy. Like it's like he's just like casually talking about the game and like barely interested.
I kind of feel the opposite. I feel like he has energy, but it feels forced to me. Like he's trying to be someone he's not.
Yeah,
because
that's part of it.
Like I don't know him either, but what little interactions, he seems like kind of a quiet, nice guy, and like sometimes it's hard for those people to be enthusiastic legitimately without having to like fake it or force it a little bit. But I think I'm willing to give him a chance. I'm not gonna like bash it or anything, but yeah.
I mean, yeah, I said I'll give him a chance.
Yeah.
I just don't like the hire. Here's the thing. Lamar Hurd and Kevin Calabro, as different as they were, their energy played well together, right? Like they were both energetic and their energy worked well together. Mike and Mike, I felt like their energy was a little bit different, but it was like a good contrast. Whereas in the bubble games, there was almost like an awkward energy. Like it didn't like mesh well with Jordan Kent and Lamar Hurd. I felt like Jordan Kent's energy made Lamar Hurd a little bit more subdued than usual. You know what I mean? I don't know. I don't know if I'm just like making stuff up in my mind right now, but that's just kind of like the feelings I had. So like I would have loved to go out and get like a Mark Jones or like a national announcer that brings better energy and just has more experience. You know what I mean? Like if Jordan Kent wants to be like a play-by-play commentator, like work your way up. Travis Demers did a lot like high school games and minor league baseball and all sorts of just like small commentating gigs before he got the radio job, and it helped prepare him to be the radio play-by-play guy. Whereas like I feel like you're just throwing a guy into the fire here that's just not ready. But the thing is, I feel like a lot of people talked about how they liked him during the bubble, so I feel like like people are going to be fine with him just because he's an Oregon guy and he's a nice guy, so he's going to get all the benefit of the doubt, and people are going to like want to like listening to him, so they'll like listening to him. You know what I mean? Like, which is fine. If you like him, you like him. It's just,
Well, see,
not who I want.
On like a local broadcast, I don't mind like the Homer local guy. Like Barrett was kind of like that, and Rice, of course. Like he didn't start off a Blazer fan, but he became a Blazer fan after the end of it. But I don't know. I've never gotten the impression that like Kent really cares that much about basketball or the Blazers enough to want to do it. And I know it's like Calabro by the end of his time was pretty enthusiastic about the Blazers playoff run last year and all that stuff. Like it felt like he was becoming a Blazer, but that was the appeal of Barrett. Like he grew up a Blazer fan and stuff, and so you had that. It was like you were watching a game with another fellow fan of the team or something,
Maybe we'll have to find a way to commentate a game for fun somehow.
Maybe.
Obviously, we can't stream it, but I don't know. It'd be fun to try, but yeah, I don't know. It's not who I'd want, but we'll see. Maybe he'll be better, like with more preparation going into it and being in the stadium.
Actually, being in there, yeah.
Anyway, that wraps up our stream. We will be live on Thursday. We'll be live on Thursday. Who knows what that stream will look like. We'll have to see what happens over the next few days. That might be a mock draft with trades. If nothing happens, we'll have something for that stream. And stay tuned for more draft profiles and a Trade Talk Tuesday. I'm coming out with that. One of us, me or Eric, will come out with a mailbag in the next day or two. Sorry, that's late this week. We just have to sort that out. Like, it's a busy time of the year. So we're doing a lot. Just stay tuned. Follow me on Twitter at TorJonesYT. Follow Eric at HoopsJock if you don't already do so. I know most of you do, but for those who don't, that's how you can stay updated. Another way to stay updated is to follow our channel Twitter page at BlazersUpriseYT. Join our Discord. I will post our Discord link in the chat if you want to join our Discord. That's another way to stay up to date with what we're doing. Let me find the Discord link.
And at least for me, feel free to message me anytime. I don't mind answering questions or interacting or whatever.
I'd rather people just come ask me questions in the stream.
Yeah, I know.
There's so many times where I'll like drop a mailbag and somebody will ask a question, and then like later that week I'll get a DM where somebody asked the same exact question I answered in the mailbag, and it's I don't know, which is completely fine. I don't answer everything. Don't feel offended. Just like there's multiple ways to ask me stuff.
I just like to timestamp the like we get the trade talk videos, and then someone will ask like what the trade one is. You just drop a timestamp.
Yeah. Discord is that link right there if you want to join. For those of you who want to come play Among Us with us, just join the voice chat. I'm down to play for a little bit, as we usually do after stream. Thank you guys for watching. Hope you guys have a good rest of your night and a good week ahead. We're getting into the thick of the off season, and that is very exciting. It's very fun, and I look forward to what we have the rest of this month, because after a month it's going to be season time. So no more lulls for a while, and that's very exciting. So anyway, that's a wrap for this stream. Thank you guys for tuning in. Until next time, as always, peace out.